You're sitting there, scrolling through your phone, thinking your marriage is rock solid, aren't you? You tell yourself you've got it all figured out. Date nights, shared bills, maybe even a kid or two on the horizon. But what if the person you trust most, the one you've built a life with, is already plotting to tear it all down? Picture this Emily, a woman who swore to love you forever, is sipping wine in your living room, laughing with a friend about how she's going to explore other men. She thinks she's clever, untouchable, whispering plans to control you, to remake your marriage into her twisted fantasy. And you're Michael, the man who's about to find out through a co-worker's disgusted confession that your wife's been seduced by a dangerous idea. Your blood boils, but you don't scream. You don't break. You plan. Because that's what a man does when betrayal cuts deep. You don't crumble. You sharpen the blade of your resolve. Welcome to a story that rips the veil off modern marriage, where loyalty is tested, egos are shattered, and the truth hits like a fist to the gut. Emily thought she could play God with her husband's heart, chasing a fleeting thrill sold to her by a friend named Sarah. But every choice has a price, and hers will cost more than she ever imagined. You're about to walk through their world video of raw, unfiltered truth about love, deception, and redemption. Ask yourself if this were you. Could you see the signs before it's too late? Or would you, like Michael, have to learn the hard way that trust, once broken, leaves scars that never fully heal? 1. Warning on modern marriage mistakes. Oh, darling, lean in closer. Let me whisper this to you, like we're sharing secrets in the dim glow of our bedroom, where the sheets still smell of last night's passion and promises. I was so sure back then, so utterly convinced that I held the reins to our perfect little world, Michael, my devoted husband, kneeling at my feet, ready to bend to my every whim. I'd tease him with a flick of my wrist, a leather strap hidden in the drawer, imagining how I'd train him into submission, turning our marriage into my playground of control and desire. It felt intoxicating. This feminine power Sarah dangled before me, like a forbidden fruit dripping with the juice of liberation. But God, how blind I was, strutting through our home with that false confidence, ignoring the statistics screaming from every corner. Did you know 1 in 5 American marriages shatters under infidelity's blade? As those cold family research reports lay bare, I laughed it off, thinking we were different, superior even. But look at those Hollywood wrecks, stars crumbling in the spotlight after affairs that started as just a little fun. Their empires of glamour reduced to tabloid ashes. I thought I could play the dominatrix without consequence, binding Michael tighter while I roamed free. But the panic sets in now, doesn't it? My heart races, breaths shallow, as I recall the first cracks, the unease twisting in my gut like a collar pulled too tight, realizing too late that control slips away when you least expect it. What if I'd listened? What if I'd seen the spiral before it dragged me down? The lesson burns clear through the haze. Probe those seductive whispers from friends like Sarah. Question their venom before it poisons your bond, because unchecked, it turns your throne into a cage. And as my story unravels, you'll feel the pull deeper, into the moment Michael uncovers my betrayal, his quiet fury building like a storm I never saw coming. 2. Michael's discovered the betrayal plane. Come closer, darling. Let me pull you into the shadows of that moment when my world tilted, when I thought I held all the strings, only to feel them slip through my fingers like silk. I was so smug back then, strutting through our home, my heels clicking with authority, convinced I could mold Michael into the perfect submissive husband, my little pet who'd kneel at my command while I explored my desires. I'd whisper to myself in the mirror, Emily, you've got this, he'll never know. Imagining him waiting patiently while I played my dangerous game. But oh God, the truth crashed in like a whip cracking across my bare skin. Michael wasn't blind. He'd heard whispers from a coworker, a woman sickened by my plans, spilling every sordid detail of my chats with Sarah. Picture him, my strong, quiet Michael, standing in his office, face hardening as the words sank in his wife, his Emily, plotting to betray him with other men, all under the guise of some twisted feminine power. I didn't see it then, but he was already sharpening his resolve, his silence a blade I'd feel later. Psychology Today says 60% of betrayed spouses choose this quiet strategy, bottling their rage to plan their next move, just like Michael did, his heart breaking while his mind calculated. I think of that Reddit story, a husband who found his wife's affair through a hacked email, his world crumbling in silence, and I shiver, knowing Michael was walking that same path. My confidence was a house of cards, and I was too drunk on control to notice the wind picking up. Now, my breath catches, panic clawing at my chest as I realize how blind I was, how I misread his calm for weakness. What if I'd stopped, looked into his eyes, seen the hurt I was sowing? The lesson stings like leather on skin. Share your heart with your love, or the silence will carve a chasm too wide to bridge. If you don't, you'll end up like me, trembling at the edge of a truth you can't unlearn. As Michael's discovery pulls us deeper into the storm where Sarah's venomous whispers take root. 3. Sarah's manipulation and the idea of feminine marriage ministry. Oh, darling, pull the curtains tight and let me confess how I fell. How I let Sarah's honeyed words coil around me like a velvet rope, binding my soul before I even knew I was caught. I was so sure of myself then, lounging in her living room, wine glass in hand, my laughter bold as I imagined Michael kneeling at my feet, my perfect, pliant husband shaped by my desires. Sarah leaned in close, her voice a sultry purr, painting this vision of a feminine marriage ministry, a world where I could rule our bed, our home, our love, while tasting other men like forbidden fruit. She called it liberation, a way to seize control, and I drank it down, intoxicated by the thought of Michael waiting, obedient, while I explored my power. She'd done it. She said 3 husbands broken and molded, her current one standing by the bed, eyes downcast as she took lovers. I saw it work for her, saw her husband's quiet submission, and I thought, that's my future, my throne. But God, how the illusion burned. Sarah's words were a trap, a seductive lie dressed up as empowerment, and I was too blind to see the venom. Research screams that 90% of open marriages crash and burn within 5 years. The American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy says, because they trade trust for fleeting thrills. I think of those online forums, women in hot wife communities boasting of freedom, only to post later about shattered homes, their husbands gone, their pride in ashes. My confidence was a house built on sand, and now my heart races, panic twisting like a knot in my core as I realized Sarah's gospel was a noose. What if I'd questioned her, pushed back against her siren song? The lesson cuts deep. Raw as a fresh welt, true freedom and love comes from mutual respect, not control. And chasing fantasies without your partner's heart will leave you bound in regret. I'm trembling now, my bravado crumbling, knowing I've stepped into a game I can't win. And it's leading me straight to the moment I dare to lay my twisted plan before Michael. 4. Emily confrontation with Michael Plain. Darling, come closer. Let me confess how I stood on the edge of my own undoing, my heart pounding with a cocktail of arrogance and desire, thinking I could bend Michael to my will like a leather strap in my hands. I was so certain that night, the candlelight flickering across our dining table, my voice steady as I poured myself another glass of wine, rehearsing the words Sarah had fed me. I'd tell him I needed to explore, to taste other men before we settled into kids and forever, a temporary game to make me the queen of our marriage. I leaned across the table, my lips curved in a practiced smile, and laid it out, Michael. It's just lovemaking, not love only. You have my heart. I expected him to squirm, maybe beg, but his eyes, oh God, they were cold, unyielding, like steel biting into my bravado. He didn't yell, didn't break, just sat there, calm as a storm's eye, saying he wouldn't stop me but wouldn't touch me either, not with the risk of disease. That calm should have warned me, but I was too drunk on my own power, too blind to see I was misreading his strength for surrender. I think of those couples on talk shows, like that Dr. Phil episode where a wife demanded an open marriage, only to watch her husband's quiet refusal unravel her confidence. Real people, just like me, thinking they could dictate love's terms. The Dunning-Kruger effect, they call it, this delusion of control, and I was its poster child, strutting into a trap of my own making. Now, my pulse quickens, panic clawing at my throat as I replay his words, realizing he wasn't agreeing, he was withdrawing. What if I'd paused, looked deeper, seen the hurt I was carving into his soul? The lesson lashes like a whip. Any change in love demands both hearts on the table, or you're just swinging at shadows. I'm shaking now, my confidence fracturing, knowing I've pushed Michael to a line I can't uncross, and it's pulling me toward the night I step fully into my betrayal, blind to the cost. For Emily's betrayal and Michael's departure? Oh, darling, draw the curtains and let me bare my soul. Let me confess how I danced on the edge of ecstasy and ruin, my body humming with the thrill of control as I stepped into the night, thinking I could have it all. I was so alive then, my skin electric under the tight red dress I wore for our 5th anniversary, now repurposed for my conquest at the club with Sarah, Alex, and Ben. The music pulsed like a heartbeat, their hands grazing my hips, their whispers promising pleasures Michael could never match, or so I told myself, smirking in the neon glow, convinced I was the mistress of my fate. I brought Alex home, my garter belt and stockings still on, losing myself in his touch, every moan a rebellion against the vows I'd made. I thought Michael was tucked away in the spare room, obediently waiting, but God, the morning light slapped me awake. The house was too quiet, his things gone not just from our bedroom, but from our home, his truck, his tools, all vanished, like he'd erased himself from my world. My heart seized, panic flooding me like cold water. My breath short as I realized he hadn't just moved rooms, he'd left me. I think of those stories online, women on social media crowing about their open adventures, only to post later about empty beds and broken hearts. The Kinsey Institute saying 70% of cheaters drown in regret within a month. I was one of them, too proud to see the cliff until I was falling. Sarah's voice echoed in my head, urging me to stay strong, but it was a lie, a chain tightening around my neck. What if I'd stopped, felt the weight of his absence before I crossed that line? The lesson burns like a brand chasing fleeting thrills, trades your forever for a moment, and the cost is everything you love. I'm trembling now, my control shattered, my arrogance crumbling as I face the void Michael left behind, pulling me deeper into the consequences of my reckless dance. 6 consequences at work society. Darling, come closer. Let me confess how my world unraveled, how I thought I was untouchable, a queen holding the whip, only to feel the sting of my own recklessness. I was still riding the high of that night with Alex, my skin tingling with the memory of his hands, convinced I could juggle my marriage and my desires like a circus act. I strutted into work, my heels clicking with defiance, whispering with Sarah, Alex, and Ben in the pantry, our little den of secrets, thinking no one would dare challenge my throne. But oh God, the hammer fell so fast. A woman in a crisp suit handed us envelopes, divorce papers from Michael, each one a blade slicing through my bravado, backed by photos, videos, audio recordings of our betrayal. My stomach churned as I saw the evidence. My voice caught in my throat, panic clawing at me like a collar pulled too tight. The company erupted in chaos, and email from the boss blasted to every desk, accusing us of turning the storage room into a brothel, violating every moral code in the handbook. I think of scandals like Uber's in 2017, where workplace misconduct led to lawsuits and ruined reputations. Real people like me who thought they could blur the lines between pleasure and duty. My coworkers' glares burned into me, their hate mail flooding my inbox, each word a lash against my pride. Sarah urged me to stay bold, but I was spiraling, my confidence crumbling as I realized I'd not only lost Michael, but my standing, my dignity. What if I'd drawn a line, kept my desires out of the office, away from the eyes that judged? The lesson cuts deep, raw as a fresh welt, mixing personal indulgence with professional life invites ruin, and the fallout spares no one. I'm trembling now, my arrogance a pile of ashes, knowing the world I built is collapsing, pulling me toward the desperate moment I try to claw my way back to Michael. 7. Emily's attempt to atone. Oh, darling, sit with me in this quiet, trembling moment. Let me confess how I clawed at the wreckage of my own making, still clinging to the illusion that I could bind Michael back to me with a few desperate pleas. I was so sure at first, pacing our empty house, my heels echoing like a metronome of control, telling myself I could fix this, that I could summon him back with a flick of my wrist, like calling a pet to heel. I dialed his number, my fingers steady, expecting his voice to soften, but the cold automated message blocked. Unreachable hit me like a slap across bare skin. I tried Sarah's phone, then Ben's, my breath hitching as each attempt failed, my confidence cracking like thin ice. Panic surged, a tight knot in my chest, as I drove to his office, eyes scanning for his truck, heart pounding with the fear that he was gone for good. I think of those blog posts, women pouring out their regrets online. One I read about a wife begging her husband after an affair. Her words ignored because they lacked action. Real people, just like me, learning too late that apologies without change are just whispers in the wind. I sat at my desk, tears blurring the screen, typing an email to Michael, my fingers shaking as I offered everything, my body, my soul, even a chastity belt, promising to serve him, to bend over for his punishment, anything to reclaim our love. But deep down, I knew it was hollow, still tainted by my need to control the outcome. Sarah's voice rang in my head, urging strength, but it was a lie, a chain I'd forged myself. What if I'd been honest from the start, bared my heart instead of playing games? The lesson stings like leather on flesh. Words of remorse mean nothing without deeds to back them. And trust, once broken, demands a price you may not be ready to pay. I'm crumbling now, my pride in tatters, my heart heavy with the weight of my betrayal, knowing this desperate plea is only the beginning of the penance awaiting me. 8. Update after 2 years, Emily's new life. Oh, darling, let me draw you into this hushed corner of my life now. 2 years after the storm, where I once thought I'd reclaimed my throne, kneeling naked beside our bed, the chastity belt locked tight against my skin, a constant reminder of the submission I've surrendered to. I was so certain at first, whispering to myself in the quiet mornings, this is my redemption, my way back to Michael, as I tended to our twin toddlers, my body bare and vulnerable, cooking his meals, cleaning our home, believing this penance would bind us closer than ever. He'd remove the belt on rare nights, his hands firm, guiding me over the couch for those weekly stripes with the leather strap, the sting blooming like fire across my flesh, and I'd arch into it, convincing myself it was love, that this dynamic me as his willing slave, him as the unyielding master, was the price of my forgiveness. But God, the cracks appear, don't they? I play with the children, their laughter filling the air. But when Michael brings another woman home every couple of months, I stand aside, eyes downcast, my heart twisting in a vice of jealousy and regret, the unease coiling like a serpent in my belly. I think of those studies in the Journal of Marriage and Family, warning that relationships built on extreme control crumble under their own weight, unsustainable, just like that American couple I read about online who turned to BDSM after her affair, hoping the roles would heal them, only to end in divorce when the power play poisoned their bond. My confidence was a fragile mask, and now panic whispers through me, my breath shallow as I question if this is truly healing or just another cage I've locked myself in. What if I'd fought for equality instead of bowing to punishment? The lesson sears like a fresh marked marriage thrives on balance and mutual respect, not dominance or atonement through pain, and chasing one-sided submission only deepens the despair. I'm humbled now, my spirit bowed, aching for a love without chains. As the ripples of my choices extend to Sarah, Alex, and Ben, their fates a mirror to my own unraveling. Consequences for Sarah, Alex, Ben, and social lessons. Oh, darling, let me confess with a twisted smile how I watched them fall. Sarah, Alex, and Ben, thinking in my moments of lingering pride that they deserved every lash of fate's whip, while I clung to my fragile redemption with Michael. I was so certain then, lounging in the afterglow of my submission, telling myself their ruins were justice served Sarah, the siren who lured me in, now stripped bare. Her husband turning the tables with a fury that made my punishments seem like caresses. He gathered evidence, liquidated everything, left her with a hollow house and a reputation in tatters, forcing her into a job at half the pay, her body racked by infections from her endless games, alone in her cold bed, no lovers to warm her anymore. Alex and Ben fared no better, their divorces devouring them, wives tossing out their things, kids turned against them. The two of them huddled in a dingy apartment in a rough neighborhood, scraping by on low-wage drudgery, their once bold touches reduced to bitter arguments over scraps. I smirked at first, whispering to myself, they reaped what they sowed. But God, the mirror turned on me. Panic rises now, a chokehold around my throat, as I see the parallels my own life a cage of chastity and stripes. No different from their despair. All of us bound by the chains we forged in pursuit of forbidden thrills. Studies show losing a job due to ethical misconduct can slash re-employment rates to as low as 57% in tough times. According to reports on Bureau of Labor Statistics data, just like those real-world tales of executives felled by scandals, their careers forever scarred, opportunities evaporating like mist. Sarah, the mastermind, suffered most because her manipulations cut deepest, a lesson in karma's cruel symmetry. What if we'd all paused, questioned our urges before they consumed us? The truth stings like a final stroke. Unethical games always demand payment, no matter how cleverly you play, and the debt collects in ways you can't escape. I'm bowed low now, my heart heavy with remorse, aching for the simplicity we lost, as this tale whispers its final warnings to anyone listening. 10 ending lessons for the audience about healthy marriage. Oh, darling, let me wrap you in this final embrace, confessing how I've pieced together the shards of my shattered world, thinking I've found salvation in the shadows with Michael. My body marked and bound, a testament to the love I nearly destroyed. I was so certain at the end of it all, kneeling in our home, the chastity belt a cold reminder of my surrender, whispering to myself that this was balance restored me. Emily, who chased the siren call of feminine dominance, losing the equality we once shared in pursuit of Sarah's dark gospel, only to reclaim a twisted version of love through endless remorse and submission. But God, the doubts creep in like fingers tightening around my throat, panic fluttering in my chest as I replay the nights of leather and pain. The women he brings home while I watch, silent and obedient, wondering if this is healing or just another layer of despair. I think of Pink and Carrie Hart, that celebrity couple who clawed their way back from the brink through years of couples therapy, as shared in Oprah Daily, their story a beacon that real change is possible with professional help and raw honesty. Yet here I am, my confidence a fading echo, realizing too late that ignoring the small cracks in our bond let them widen into chasms. What if I'd seen the signs, chosen partnership over power plays? On the screen before you, let these lessons burn bright first. Communication is the foundation, the unbreakable chain that holds love steady. Second, never let friends like Sarah redefine your happiness, for their whispers can be poison. Third, regret alone isn't enough. You must act, change, prove your devotion with every breath. If you're teetering on the edge in your own marriage, darling, reach out now, seek a counselor. Bare your soul to your partner before it's too late. The truth lashes like a final stroke. Marriage is a dance of equals, not a battle for dominance, and overlooking those quiet fractures invites a crisis you may never fully mend. I'm bowed now, my spirit humbled, aching with remorse for the queen I tried to be, praying you heed this tale and ask yourself, what will you do to safeguard the fragile beauty of your own love?